Hi, everybody. This is 1,143 days, I believe. Oh, um, I might be off. It's late. Um, it's a lot of days. It's a lot of days. You know, you can't split hairs. You have to tell the truth. We're way over 3 years, and it's just too much. It's too much. We have given trillions of dollars to our military to protect us, to defend the Constitution, and they have betrayed us. I mean, that's the bottom line. Because if they can't simply answer the question, what happened to Richard, and give us official documentation, a report on what happened to Richard, because they know, y'all, because we know, okay? We know. Of course, it has taken us much longer because of the millions of dollars that have been spent to cover up this case. And let me get on Facebook and see. I'll put up my so absolutely happy Sunday though. I mean, we had such a great day. The reason why I came on a little melancholy is because I just watched this clip from A Few Good Men. And you can't, I mean, you can be up high and watch a clip like that, in our case, thinking about our son and everything that we know, um, the environment that he found himself in, surrounded by the people that remember the card reader at the beginning of all of this. She was right on target. These are very nasty people. Oh God, she said, what did you do? What did you do to this poor young man? Um, yeah. So we knew, and we are very appreciative for getting us out of that box that we were in, um, trying to work with the Army at that point, thinking that um, they had Richard Six, that they would respect Rob's service and work with us and tell us what happened to our son, because we told them, we were asked, and we told them we were ready to hear about our son. It didn't matter, because in our opinion, Richard's 20, 21 years old at that point. Tell us about our son. Because, when you're that young and you've grown up in a loving family, absolutely loving family. We have nothing but loving family. And if it wasn't, they would have smeared us already because they've used millions of dollars. Do not even think this is not true. They absolutely allocated lots of funding to not only cover this up, but to use asymmetric warfare tactics and military operations to change a narrative around Richard's case, to protect major crimes and major criminals. Okay? Felonies, felony crimes, and felons. And those that um, those that even wear the uniform, that receive taxpayer funding for their livelihood and have betrayed the very people that fund them, the very land that has provided for them. And that that's a little disheartening that they use even more money than from taxpayers' funds when taxpayers really need their money. They really need their money to pay for the inflation, for their own aspirations, for their own move forward, progression in this life for their family. And it is really appalling that those we've entrusted to defend the Constitution, our right to aspire to progress in our own lives, have betrayed the funding that we've given them to protect. And what have they done? They've done us harm. They've done us harm in so many ways. And if they're going to use those funds, and absolutely they did, y'all, there's no doubt in my mind about the figures that were that the intel gave us. There is no doubt. Okay, you can split hairs and say, oh, it was 4 million, oh, it was 6 million, oh, it's 9 million. You can, do we add what we spent with Mexico? Do we add what we spent with this? That was legitimate. If we add what the military spent with its initial September, not July, September show of searching, right? There's all this discussion here. What monies can we attribute to the cover-up, right? What monies, what millions can we attribute? Let's just say it's a substantial amount. It's a substantial amount. And 1 penny was too much. Right? 1 penny was too much. 1 penny of fraud, waste, and abuse, when it comes to a post Vanessa Guillen, a post Enrique Roman Martinez, a post Caleb Smither, a post Austin Hawk, a post Elder Fernandez, a post Asia Graham came after. But, when you have this, it just shows you that 1 penny was too much to use for a cover-up, instead of using those millions of dollars to retrench the military, because there's a systemic problem. There's a systemic problem. And I believe sometimes there's films that expose the problems that we have. And when I watched this clip, and let's watch it real quick. Let's watch it. Let me put it on. See if I can put it on. Have it on here.
Colonel, I have just one more question before I call Airman O'Malley and Airman Rodriguez. If you gave an order that Santiago wasn't to be touched, and your orders are always followed, then why would Santiago be in danger? Why would it be necessary to transfer him off the base?
Can you hear it? Oops, sorry.
Santiago was a substandard Marine. He was being transferred.
That's not what you said. You said he was being transferred because he was in grave danger.
That's correct.
You said he was in danger. I said grave danger. You said, is there any
recall what I said.
I can have the court reporter read back to you.
I know what I said. I don't have to have it read back to me like I'm...
Why the 2 orders? Colonel?
Sometimes men take matters into their own
No,
hands.
sir. You made it clear just a moment ago that your men never take matters in their own hands. Your men follow orders or people die. So Santiago shouldn't have been in any danger at all, should he have, Colonel?
You snotty little bastard.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
I'd like an answer to the question, Judge.
The court will wait for an answer.
If Lieutenant Kendrick gave an order that Santiago wasn't to be touched, then why did he have to be transferred? Colonel, Lieutenant Kendrick ordered the code red, didn't he? Because that's what you told Lieutenant Kendrick to do.
Object!
And when it went
That'll
bad,
be all,
you cut
Counsel.
these guys loose!
Your Honor!
You had
Counsel, I'll
Marcus
hold you
inside
in
a phony
contempt.
transport!
Your Honor!
You doctored the logbook!
Damn it, Captain!
You coerced the doctor!
Consider
Not
yourself in
asking you.
contempt.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth! Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have...
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I can't take too much of that because the comparison to what we have gone through, the attitude, the spirit of this colonel, right? The spirit of him, the anger, the obstinance, the brazen, because he's going to go into, we live in a land of laws and we have borders and we protect them and this, and, this is why we have to commit crimes. This is really his attitude here. And I don't want to put y'all in too bad of a mood because when you watch it, especially if you have find Richard Halliday from the beginning, and the attitudes from like Captain David Park, from Ruggiero. Ruggiero's been pretty tempo. We haven't, he just refused to talk to us, which is really appalling. And then you have, of course, Jay Paulin and his public comments and comments that came back to us. The lack of truth in all of that was really going on. The manipulation, from like sweetness to absolutely vile and vulgar, like let's be respectful to vile and vulgar, and so disrespectful. When Team Find Richard Halliday has every right, just like this lawyer in this case, has every right to ask, was there a crime committed? Was there a crime committed against Richard? Was there a crime? Who committed the crime? Why was the crime committed? We have every right to ask those questions. Because the next one is, we need justice. Justice for Richard, but let's add on, justice for Richard is justice for every service member. It is a needful situation, a needful remedy for the brazen attitudes that they can use their position to block information of who committed a crime against Richard. Because we know at this time that Richard didn't commit a crime. He was a whistleblower. And that he feared for his life. And he bought a pistol 5 days before, and it is missing. And we're honing in on that too. We haven't forgotten about his pistol. There are so many fronts in this because of the lack or the presumption that because we've given the military leadership trillions of dollars, that they feel like they can walk all over us, keep information from us, even use those funds, those positions, that authority weaponize it against us. That is what we're up against. Because Team Find Richard Halliday, with many other families of questionable deaths and harm in the military, have the right to get their questions answered in a professional, truthful, speedy in a letter that it has a signature, that has a seal. We have the right to get those answers. We have the right to get those answers from Miss Schnotty. We have the right to get those answers from Judge Robert Shook. We have the right to get those answers from Major General Eisenhower, from Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, from General Mealy, from General McConville, from General Garrett. We have the right to know. And we have the right to know who was involved in this. The many that was involved to this. We have up to 25 names right now of who participated in this code red or a like code red. Absolutely a premeditated crime against Richard. That it was so brazen and such a horrendous crime that they had to use so many resources and sneaky like little money laundering schemes to, that's my opinion. Because if they're going to be sneaky about everything, then they're absolutely going to be sneaky about the funding. And absolutely, we know they spent a lot of money to cover this up. Absolutely. We have so much evidence of irregularities that could only be explained by military operations, by a concerted effort to change the narrative, to protect the brand, at the expense of every service member, okay? Not only at the expense of every service member, but the expense of our country, the expense of our security, the expense of our defense, the Department of Defense, the expense of that, because they did not want another Guillen situation. Well, tough luck. You had one. You had one. And you needed to get down on your knees and confess the mess that you have made out of trillions of dollars, Mealy, McConville, Garrett. I don't know who they're serving, but they're not serving the American people. And they have allowed our military installations to become breeding grounds for criminal syndicates. using our soldiers, our service members as targets for their business plans. And they are targets because they're up to no good with their illegal narcotics, criminal syndicates, with their weapons smuggling, with their equipment smuggling, with their ammunition smuggling, with their and you know, I am so convinced that my allegations are right on target. Right on target. Because you have the fraud of social security numbers, the fraud of stealing identities right in front of us, right? Right in front of us. Brazen, violations of the law right in front of us. Right to our faces. And so if they're going to violate their ethics, their duty, the law, we hear a lot of talk about global warming and this and that and pollution. Well, look, when you do the violations that have occurred in this case, it's the worst type of pollution. It is a concerted attack on our young people that have the guts, have the will to sign up and volunteer for years in our military that takes away a big hunk of their freedom willingly because they sign the line that they will serve so and so much time. And they do that knowingly that they could be put in harm's way, and they are sent to installations that are breeding grounds for criminal gangs and syndicates at the highest level. On lies from the recruiters. It is such a betrayal. It is, there's always room to understand that things aren't going to be, totally on the up and up. Because we're human, right? And this is what I was trying to tell them at the beginning when it came to Richard, where they wanted us to just go away, not get any answers at all for the whereabouts of our son. And I was trying to tell them, look, my son, he's only 21. He just turned 21. Where is he? I don't care what happened, because first I want him in front of me. First I want to know where he is. Then I can ask him, Richard, what happened? What's going on? And if there was any wrongdoing on his part, then they could judge him. Then they could indict him or whatever they wanted to do. Right? Then they could, say, look, he broke the UCMJ and whatever. Right? Because they were trying to do that with all of the retaliation that they did, this part of this code red that we believe they did, or the like of a code red, right? No, it wasn't. They didn't actually say code red. Well, something happened to him that was totally like a code red. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's my opinion. That's Team Fine Richard Halliday's opinion. Because of everything that we know. And they do not put out that kind of money to cover up a soldier that just went AWOL. That might just be in Mexico. No way. No way. They pulled a code red or a like a code red on Richard because he was whistleblowing to the Child Protective Services in possession of sex videos that he turned in. We know that. And how much did CPS have to get paid to not honor our FOIA? Because we've been waiting. And we shouldn't have to wait. We shouldn't have to. There should be a line of lawyers, a line of the SJAs getting that information for us. There shouldn't even be a question about it. How much have they had to pay to shut up the CPS about Richard's complaints and to hide those sex videos? That's a good question we have. How much did they have to pay Mexico for the fragmented remains, to hide those fragmented remains? How, and you can say, well, you don't even have that. Well, we have. Okay, let's ask this question. How much did they have to pay the state of Chihuahua to manipulate Team Fine Richard Halliday's missing persons report? Because we know that happened. To make Richard look bad. To take advantage that we don't speak Spanish. That's why I was saying for a long time, and when I was doing the rallies with my husband, if you speak Spanish and you are for Team Fine Richard Halliday, praise God. Thank you. God bless you. I don't know how many videos I have saying that to the people that speak Spanish. But in the office of Chihuahua, they are not part of Team Fine Richard Halliday because they manipulated my husband's testimony to hurt Richard, to hurt the investigation into our son. Why would they do that? And how much money do they have to have made a deal with to do that? Because that's leverage. That's leverage. And should that be included in the millions? I believe so. I believe so. And then how much did they have to cover, give to El Paso Matters to do that sick little article using a convicted criminal to stop the investigation into our son, to tamper with a witness, to tamper with the minds of those on Fort Bliss and in El Paso, to manipulate the narrative. How sick are these people? Because we know that what they did was absolutely criminal and it was false. And why this has gone on for so long tells you, because let me tell, with the data, with the WhatsApp data that, and I posted it again, the Texas Tribune, um, there's so much in that article with Eric Hack in there being part of a special agent, CID El Paso. With that information, with that they can use a WhatsApp to locate people, to track people. And then, Richard absolutely had Google Maps, and you can absolutely track people with that. And where is his phone? And all of the rickety responses of his belongings at the beginning. And you know who would be in charge of his belongings? His platoon leader. Oh, wow. His platoon leader. His platoon leader would have been in charge of investigating that. Okay, so one of the prime suspects is his platoon leader, who we believe and maintain, because of witness testimony, that it was Dallas Hart, who happens to be a first lieutenant, the exact same rank that you have to be a platoon leader. And they haven't officially answered us in any of our open records requests to provide any of that information. How much money have they spent to keep this going? With the DA, with the AG, with the lawyers, with Mexico, with the media, with the media, to control the media. How much, just the monies that you have to, and I call them bribes, the media not to cover this. That I really suspect that. I absolutely suspect that. Because there is not one crime that they can point to that Richard committed. And with any kind of investigation, you can see that even January was part of the retaliation. One retaliation after the next. And no evidence at all for any wrongdoing on Richard's part. But according to the colonel in this movie, A Few Good Men, I think he's a colonel, what is he, a general, a colonel, whatever. We can't handle the truth because, they have to be brazen and decide if they want to kill someone, if they want to retaliate against someone. Richard didn't sign up for the military to be murdered by his own because they were protecting their criminal little gang syndicate with tactical move storage units, using taxpayers' tactical move storage units, taxpayers' time, money, equipment. What a sweet deal. Let the taxpayers buy it and then you steal it and sell it. Or you give the soldiers $25,000 in enlistment and then target them for whatever you're trying to sell them. you know, um, we had a 15-6, and, it was such a joke. My dad was still alive at that time and went to that meeting with us. And, um, you know, it, it makes you wonder, why are we even funding this? Why are we funding our Department of Defense? Why are we funding our federal Department of Justice? Why are we um, funding this? Because they're just weaponizing themselves against us, and just playing charades, just playing their games, just um, they're just up to no good and profiting off of being up to no good. Woohoo! They get a bonus. They get a bonus with their criminality, while they're destroying our volunteer sons and daughters' lives with leaders like this, with the heads of the um, institutions that we have and the agencies that we have right now. Like, just let's pinpoint a small fish in the sea with Marlon Soto, who I spoke with hours. Who needs enemies with them? They're the worst type of enemy, because they dress up in our uniforms and get our paychecks and give themselves awards using our funding, our guidons, right? They use our guidons. They use our badges, our units, our history. They even manipulate that. But it is, for the last 3 days, I called the live stream laying on of hands, and I really haven't explained it too much because, we're supposed to give our trust to those that we believe will honor that trust, honor that duty. We're not supposed to give it to people that will do violence with their hands. And absolutely, when I watched this clip, the attitude, it's so clear, when you're so guilty, when you're so guilty and you make excuses for yourself. I have grandchildren. And it's like, why'd you do that? Well, so and so and so. And they make excuses, and they even get angry sometimes, and they even start crying. And it's like, no, wait a minute, that was wrong. So this is the point that I want to make, is Team Find Richard Halliday has every right to say what happened to Richard, who committed a crime against Richard, who committed a crime against us, because don't forget that this has morphed into another case. Who has committed the crimes against us? Who has ordered these things? Who has ordered the cover up? Who has ordered the funding to do the cover up? Who has done it? And we have the right to know. We absolutely have the right to know. And when I say we, it's not just Team Find Richard Halliday. It's the American people. It's the American people that have the right to know. And we can handle the truth. It might be shocking. It might be shocking, and we might need a few minutes to come to terms with the betrayal of our own. That we feel like, have degrees, have all this war training, are seasoned war fighters, have a patriotism, and then to find out that is all talk from them, that they've betrayed us and put our country in harm's way, and our service members, our sons and daughters that take time out of their lives at very young ages to volunteer. And sure, they want schooling, they want mentoring, sure, they want something from it for themselves. Sure, they should. They should expect some mentoring. They should expect some education. I mean, anytime you do anything in life, it's an education, right? It doesn't have to be classroom education. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking if they're going to defend this country and they're going to use Patriot missiles, if they're going to use tanks, if they're going to use guns, if they're going to use, bridges and that engineering that they have, and they're going to use whatever is supposed to defend our country, they need to be trained. They need to learn something. And to have that camaraderie, because they feel like it's a safe place, even though they may be put in harm's way, but there's camaraderie, there's esprit de corps, there is a code of ethics, there's a UCMJ, there's, they say this will be a good thing. I can be disciplined. And a lot of them are willing to be disciplined. But now, because of this lowering the standards and all these additional problems that the leaders have created, they have allowed our military installations to be breeding grounds for violent crimes, felony crimes. And, correct me where I'm wrong. Correct me where I'm wrong. But that's one of the reasons why they're renaming, Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty and Fort Hood to Fort Cavazos. And, we still have Fort Bliss, even though, they've tried to rename it. And I'm talking tongue in cheek to Fort Hart, because, you have the Harts having this power over the security of Fort Bliss, making it work outside of the rule of law, operate outside, having control of the JAG, having control of the VA in there, the benefits, having access, having authorized access to the most sensitive files, information of our veterans, and then unauthorized access because it gets leaked to other people to be up to no good. I mean, and to say that they have control over the CID, and to realize, wow, what made the CID, this is one of our questions, what made the CID accept Leilani Hart's notarized criminal complaint on her husband? I don't know if that criminal complaint, as vile as it is, maybe it's this incest thing because of Dallas Hart being an active duty soldier right there on Fort Bliss, um, and this uh, sexually assaulted 7-year-old of a active duty, or at the time anyway, active duty soldiers, Fort Bliss soldiers child, and them to have heart child care. And who's paying for heart child care when and who's doing the background checks? Because apparently the background checks either are not being done, or you have whatever her name is being applied to others, whatever their name is, using other people's social security numbers, using other people's identities to get around the background checks. I mean, I could not make this up. They're just out of control criminals. Out of control. No love for this country. No love for our service members, our veterans. Just taking advantage of the whole thing for personal gain, for some kind of sexual cult, sexual grooming, sexual sickness. These are sexual sick people. And they use it. They use it against our country, our service members, into their criminal syndicates. They use it to entrap people to, then they can blackmail them. They can entrap them into these relationships. And it's the descent, this spiraling downward into the abyss where there's crying and gnashing of teeth. That's what it is. And they there's trouble. They have to cover up. And then the next thing they know, they're on drugs. They have PTSD. They're suicidal. And then they get violent because there's part of them that still want to live, and they get violent, and then violent crimes are committed. And absolutely, that is what happened to Richard. Because drugs are involved here. This sex victims that were I just can't. What made the CID take on Leilani Hart's sick, sexual, deviant, illegal weapons, felony crimes, confession? What made them? And the FBI too. What made them? And then not to arrest her if that was false, because the damage that does when that gets out, knowing that her husband, who is alleged to do these things, to be this violent, to be this sexually sick person, is controlling the VA Disabilities Medical Board. I mean, think about that. And soldiers come in there with the most sensitive records, and the attitude is so callous. I'm trying to explain to Marlon Soto, I'm trying to explain to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and his SJA that it doesn't matter all this stuff they're saying about Richard. Where is he? Just find him. Make that your mission, and then we can talk about other things. Because look, When you're young like that, you can rally. Your life is not ended when something goes, uh, you know, wrong. When you're a whistleblower and you might have gotten beat up or gotten raped. I believe that Richard was raped because of these sick, sexual, maniac predators that Leilani Hart has said are out there. And we know they're out there because you have a 14-year-old being allowed to live in the barracks, being pimped out, grooming our sons and daughters for this kind of sick, sexual, deviant lifestyle. Not knowing what love is, not knowing what faithfulness is, what beauty is in relationships, not knowing what true intimacy is, destroying their whole perception of how to live and the way forward. And they get angry and they get callous, like this colonel. Absolutely callous, cruel, not honoring life. And people could say, well, they're in the military, whatever. No, no, no. The best soldiers value life. General MacArthur valued life. He was the most amazing general because he fought to preserve not only the lives of every service member that was under his command, but every enemy that he was fighting. That's why there is so much honor given to him in Korea today. Big Korea, and in Incheon, a big statue of General MacArthur. Because he respected life. So this code red or the like of it is definitely part of this. And the funding of it is part of it. And the top leadership, absolutely, I know for sure, General McConville and General Garrett absolutely knew. They absolutely knew. Donna Martin, who is now the first female lieutenant general in charge of the IG, absolutely knew. Absolutely. She knew. She knows. She knows because she was there at the meeting. She was there at the meeting. She's the one that contacted us the day before January 6th. On January 5th, they knew what was going on. Yeah. And they're caught up. I'm not making excuses. I'm not making excuses for them because I don't know if they should have had the opportunity to wear our uniform with the stars. Because their characters seem to be very undeserving of it. And they've turned it into a criminal uniform. And instead of stars for valiant behavior, it's for criminal behavior. They've tarnished our stars. They've degraded our military to spiral down into the abyss where there is actual crying and gnashing of teeth. The suicide rates are questionable, because how many of those suicides were suicided? How many, I'm getting intel that there's so many soldiers that have seizures, lots of seizures when they get out. And they're never the same. They have a lot of problems, and so they have to go to the VA. They have to go to the predator there. Whatever you want to call James Hart, you cannot call him honorable. You cannot call him loyal. You cannot call him faithful. You cannot call him a man of integrity. You cannot call him a patriot. You cannot. Because we have proof on proof on proof that that man is not honorable, not faithful, not a patriot, does not have integrity, is up to no good. And our service members that have been through the ringer of these unjust orders, this grooming, this being targeted, have to go to the likes of this dishonorable, no good, up to no good, whatever you want to call him, whoever he is. And he has access to their files, to their most sensitive files, medical and military. And he gets to determine, with his little power structure there, if they get disability or not. That's a very powerful position to have. It's a little sweet deal there, but it's very bitter for us. Very bitter for our veterans. So, I was really a happy mood until I watched that little clip that I wanted to show. And, just the spirit of it is just so revealing, because it matches like a glove. It fits like a glove to the spirit that we've had to endure. And so, what do you assume as a parent? What do you assume as Team Fire Richard Halliday when you watch something like that and you have had to endure this kind of evil spirit from a convicted criminal from and the family that has a grip on Park University, on CPS, on JAG. We'll see on this command, but definitely on Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, definitely on Major General Clem Coward. Clem Coward absolutely has the spirit of this colonel. Okay? Absolutely. In my opinion, seemingly, allegedly. Yeah. Then you watch this and the frustration has to come out. People have to know. And that's why I'm being so truthful in this and trying to be so genuine in everything that we do. And of course, um, within within a culture of con artists, it's very difficult for people to understand unless they know our family that we're genuine, and that when we ask for help, it's genuine. And that petition, which has over 150 signatures, thank you so much. Thank you so much. But that petition for the congressional inquiry from this soldier that is active duty on Fort Bliss right now in the den of the lions, right? In harm's way. Absolutely, in harm's way. That petition is something very small that we can do that we feel like can be very big to hedge him. Hedge him with prayers, hedge him with the power of the people, because Veronica Escobar can't fool us all the time. Maybe some of the time. She can't fool us. Team Fine Richard Halliday anymore. I don't think so. But I'm talking about the people of El Paso that have trusted her, that she has conned, and I believe she's a con artist. Because Miss Halliday and we agree that we need a third party. Okay. Yeah. And they know how to, she's a judge, so she has those connections. She has that that education of that legal jargon. It's like a foreign language. And if you're bilingual, which I'm bilingual. When you're bilingual, you understand the power of having another language. And if you know music, which I don't know music, my children know music, Richard knew music, that is like a foreign language. You know what people are talking about. And if you know the military jargon, that's like another language. And then there is this legal jargon, this legal language. And, they say things, and with what they say for us, we think, oh, yeah, they're going to get back to us. But what they're really doing is giving us a flip off, or misrepresenting the law. And we've had so many that have misrepresented the law to us. And we've had to do that homework. So that petition will let Veronica Escobar know that she has a duty to answer this soldier, to have a congressional inquiry to the JAG office there that not only is blocking soldiers' concerns of fraud, waste, and abuse, that they're working outside of the law, that they are hindering and obstructing justice in Richard Halliday's case, that they're denying due process, that they might be misrepresenting the law to Major General Eisenhower, because we do have um, institutional support from agencies that are looking into Lalani Hart, that are looking into the monies, that are looking into connections, that are looking into, to giving us answers. It's starting to break, things are starting to break. It's going to break. And Veronica Escobar needs to be told that we know it's going to break. I was just sent something. Let me look. Let me look. Oh, I know. I don't know why they do that. They're just, they use their talents for no good. Some people, sorry, I got this picture that just shows that they use their talents to use for their criminal syndicates. They don't use their talents to help. That's why they don't know love. See, they just don't know love. Because love is a fulfillment of the law, right? And oh, okay, you can hear me say that and go, what? No, it means to give of yourself. It means to be that good Samaritan. It means to help. It means to give the helping hand. It means to build a building that can stand through a storm, that you have quality production, quality clothing that you make, or quality food that you make, or, whatever you're doing. You're using your talents to the best ability to bless other people, to glorify God. That's what I was taught. You leave a place better than you found it. And we have those right now that are using their talents to do a lot of harm, to do crime, and definitely in Team Find Richard Halliday, because we're over the target. We know what's going on at Van Buren. We have located the van. We know a lot of things, and we've put it out there. We've put it out there, and we've let them know. Because if I was any of these like 25 people that I have on my list, and I know there's a lot more, but the 25 main ones, I would absolutely be running to authorities and to the media and to try. They have all the connections. But because they're so callous and they don't know what love is, because they're part of these sex cult, predator, I don't know. They just, so bad, y'all. It's so bad. They just pollute themselves. They pollute themselves and they pollute others, and then they are not happy, and they get callous, and they get evil, and they wonder, why haven't you hit back? Why haven't you hit back? Why? How can she not fall for all of our little traps of despicable behavior, vile, vulgar behavior? I've been very blessed. I've been very blessed to know what love is, and how dangerous it is to participate and um and that kind of hate. There's good hate and there's bad hate. If you hate child rape, that's a good thing. If you hate code reds, that's a good thing. If you hate the misappropriation of taxpayer money funds, that's a good thing. But if you hate a family, a team, find Richard Halliday asking questions about where's my son? What crimes were committed against my son? That's a bad thing. We have every right. It is very good and right to want justice for our son. It is very good and very right to get answers for our son. And we've been as careful as possible, and not 100%, but as careful as possible. I might not know why exactly a person participated in this, but I know they participated. I know they participated. So, God is in control of all of this. And if they are going to work against finding a missing soldier, work against telling us who did what and why, it explains that there's something even deeper and more nefarious behind it all. Absolutely. And they're facing then just punishment. And they don't want just punishment. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, like I said, we had breaking news yesterday, day before that, the location of the van. That's coming in, the information surrounding all of that. We have now institutional support looking into all of the phone calls, the tracing of the phone calls, tracing of the Facebook accounts, online accounts of those that we absolutely know are up to no good, that have nefarious goals in all of this, that their goal is not to help the service member, not to help the military. No. Nope. They like the theft of taxpayer funds. That's what they like. And this whole stealing identities and using social security numbers, this is out of control, because that's how they can continue getting away with so many crimes, is taking on these pseudonyms. These pseudonyms with, I've read a lot of times that social security numbers are a bad idea. Well, you know what? I'm starting to think they're a bad idea. If they can steal and misuse people's social security number and identities, that's very concerning. And they're doing it. And they're using people's identity and social security numbers that are still alive, unbeknownst to them. They're just using them. So I think that is a real, this whole thing with Thomas Kane, that hasn't ended. That's all still being looked into because of everything that came out with the JAG office there. And that's why these signatures on the petition are so important because um, this soldier needs to know that we support him, that we are so grateful that he dared to do this and send a message to Senator Cruz and Representative Escobar that they also need to support his inquiry. That's really important. So please, if you haven't signed that petition yet, please sign that. And don't stop there. Um, let somewhat other people share that petition. Let people know that this is something that they can trust, that it is genuine, and that they can sign it. So, yeah, we're very, very grateful for that. For the 150 signatures is it's a really good start, really good. So, please help us make it even better. Please do that. Any other questions? I should look at these things being sent to me. Oh, yeah, I know all these people. I know what's behind them. And they're so kind to each other and their criminality. They won't say Lalani Hart's name. They need to say Lalani Hart, not LH. Say Lalani Hart's name. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't know what loyal is. Because they're they're connected disloyally. They're connected disloyally with. Thank you so much for sending that. But they are connected disloyally to everything. To everything. They have no faithfulness. Um, it's just that this is such a huge crime. And for 3 years, day in and day out, they have to be on this because it is such a big crime. This is a code red, or they could call it whatever, but it's a code red. And Richard whistle blew on them, did not want to be part of them. Um, I remember when they were still, when the vile and vulgar started, and I said, look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what all you're saying. Find him, and then you can call it to his face, right? Call it to his face. Don't be a coward, right? No, we already judged him. We judged him. Really? You judged him? That's a code red. What did you do to him after you judged him? So, when you say things like that, when you're angry, when we're saying, what happened to our son? We're ready to hear about our son. What did, Lalani Hart says her son is committing incest while in uniform. That's illegal. A 7-year-old being sexually assaulted um, while in in her master bedroom by multiple members of her family. Her household. Who's that? Who's in the house? Who have they sponsored? What identities are they using? I mean, really, it's it's so convoluted because they've had to cover their criminality. And the way they cover it is to hit back. Hit back at a mother saying, "Hey, Corinne, where's my son? Because you're a liar. You're a liar. We're not hiding him. He didn't march over there to Mexico. He might have went there in boxes as fragments to be put to, whatever, to be hidden." I mean, these are sick people. And, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Who's that lawyer? Who's your daughter? Who's your daughter, and who's that? How's that all connected? And, Amber Chase, we need clarification, Amber. You sitting in that office with James Hart at the VA? Is that what you're doing? We need clarification on that, because that means you have access to sensitive files also. Is that how people had all this information on Richard? Because they had access to all of his files? Wow. And who's all in that Delta Battery 143? Who's all in there? What happened to you all? What happened to you? Who abused you? What demon came into you and possessed your body, possessed your mind, possessed your heart? How did you get so callous? Is money worth it? What funds? Who's paying you? What are the funds paying you to come in and day out to try to harass and bully? Who's paying you? Maybe Miss Schnotty can answer all those questions, right? With the open records. How is that money being funneled? To cover up justice. And let me tell you, who in the world when a case is being blocked, who says that's okay? When there's obstruction of justice, who says that's okay? Who says it? A criminal. A criminal says it. A demon says it. A perpetrator. A groomer. A predator. A disloyal person, an unfaithful person, a person with no integrity. These people have no integrity, no leadership skills. They just spiral downward into the abyss. There's no respect. There's no personal courage there. There's no selfless service. That's for sure. Let's go down the list. What type of person? What group would want to obstruct justice on a missing soldier investigation? A person that, loves hell. Loves hell. No integrity. No honor. No duty. That's very clear. So, blessings to you and your family. You should be on the oversight committee. Thank you so much. We have so much good news. And I really was upbeat to tell you about this institutional support that we're getting, to look into these people's phone numbers, to trace them, to trace the burner phones, to trace this institutional support to get answers from these people that have criminal pasts, are convicted criminals. So I was really upbeat. I watched A Few Good Men, that one little Who Ordered the Code Red, and, it just rang so like everything that we have been through. And so it just confirms more, even more so, that Richard, can you imagine? Can you imagine what they did to him? Who wanted to do something good, who aspired, who wanted to be CID, who wanted to be in law enforcement, who wanted to be married and have children. Absolutely. What they did, and to have a world to bring his children into that was a beautiful world, a just world. And what did they do to him? They connived, they colluded, they conspired with agencies, with our monies, and they retaliated against him constantly and severely, and he wouldn't back down. And at the end, brought to tears, went and bought a pistol. And would these people rape him? Oh, yeah. These are predators. They are predators. They are sick, sexual deviants. They do not know love. They do not know intimacy. They do not know loyalty. And they don't know faithfulness. Matter of fact, being unfaithful is okay to them. It's okay to be unfaithful. For 3 days, and then it's over with, and then they start calling each other names. We have it. And we have Leilani Hart confirming that this was like a code red, comparing this to a code red, alleging that this was a code red. So, once you watch that, you're just like, oh my gosh. So I was as nice as I could be in the last hour, the nicest I could be, because you're not allowed in this situation. You're not allowed to get emotional. So I'm going to clearly say it as unemotionally as I can. Team Find Richard Halliday has every right to get the answers to where Richard is, what crimes were committed against him, and who did it, And how are we going to get justice? We have every right. Every right. And Major General Eisenhower, he holds the key because he can lift the ban on the obstruction of justice in our son's case. Please write him letters. He can lift the obstruction of justice. And they know that we've put in the criminal complaints now about James Hart, about Leilani Hart, about Marlon Soto, about Anthony Swafford, about all these other. They know that we have contacted the IG of VA, and on and on and on, because we have the right to know who is misusing Richard's Social Security number, who's stealing his identity and misusing his identity, who is misusing and has unauthorized access to his files. Where is he? What crimes have been perpetrated against him? By whom? And Major General Eisenhower holds the keys in his hand to the JAG office that unjustly banned an officer of the court who is a key witness in this case, witnessed the tampering of Richard's file, the leaking of Richard's file, the unauthorized access to his file, the confession of bodily harm to Richard, and more, and more. And to ban him without a packet, to operate outside of the law, to not carry out an investigation and notify the officer of the court, the key witness in our son's case, to let him defend himself and then somehow make some kind of deal with El Paso Matters, with Bob Moore, because being tax-free is not enough for them. That's not enough for them. They have to get more with their greed, with their criminal greed, and obstruct the justice, obstruct the investigation into a missing soldier right there in their backyard on Fort Bliss, and carry out a smear campaign with a convicted criminal and that surrounds herself with other criminals, confirmed criminals. That's how Bob Moore wants to be in life. That's how he wants his media to be known for. That's what Angela Korcherga wants to be known for. Everything that she's done good in the past is going to be in the shadow of this unbelievable weaponization of her power against a soldier that's missing on Fort Bliss. Right? How can I say it better? I don't have notes. I'm just saying it from the top of to be known for obstructing justice in the case of a missing soldier willingly. I mean, does she have to pay her mortgage that badly? I think I'd rather go broke. I would rather go broke. Has Richard Bitcoin been used? Yeah. Federal Trade Commissioner office can give you information where his Social Security is being. Yeah. Thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you so much. They can investigate and give you addresses. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. And, keep sending us all that information because, I have a big old notebook here, homework every day. Every day. Who to write, who to contact, who to put these letters together for um, with Team Farm Richard Halliday. And it's hard work, but it is well worth it because we have every right to know who did this to our son. Where is he? I want to know if his partial remains were found at Red Rio Range. I want to know if his fragmented remains were found at kilometer 29. I want his body. If it's fragmented or partial, I want it. I want to know if those partial remains were found at Area 244, the training area for the mock Afghanistan village right there on Fort Bliss. And there's another location. So I want to know if his remains were stuffed in that tactical move storage unit until they could figure out, collaborate together what they were going to do. Where they were going to do their dirty deed. Have to wear sunglasses. Have to put, numb the pain of what they did with drugs. And for Clem Coward, and God has such signs are everywhere. For Clem Coward, for Marlon Soto, for Tavita Nusa, for Eric Hack, for Ron Stieg, for Anthony Swafford, to betray their badge. And there's more. There's more of them. You don't, and this is another thing I said, I don't care if you didn't like Richard. I loved him. I don't care. Where is he? A law enforcement agent like Thomas Kane, for the sake of his whatever rolls in the hay, whatever, cannot use that as an excuse to not do their duty, to not look for a missing soldier. You can't use race. You can't use religion. You can't use sex to make an excuse to not look for a soldier, to not look for a missing person that is under your jurisdiction. So there's good news coming out of Arizona. There's good news happening around us. And we just need to start really paying attention, sign the petition, write letters to Veronica Escobar, write letters to Senator Cruz, write letters to Major General Eisenhower, and we appreciate all that you do. all that you do, because there's so many other fronts that I know that everyone else has to fight in their own um, challenges that they're facing right now. So we appreciate any help that we can get. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you, everyone. We really mean that, and that's why Rob has always said, just say we love you. Thank you so much, um, because we know everyone has challenges too, and so we're going to keep going, and we have the right to know what happened to Richard. Okay, everyone.